providing a little comic relief, and maybe it's a distraction. It doesn't matter what. This is just my opinion, of course. Isn't politics, as part of politics, distracting the people? Every politician, or excuse me, president has done it in some way, right? They use some sort of tool or tactic or initiative or program that its true motive is to distract us so that we don't see what they're doing behind the scenes. It's like hiding one hand so you don't even know what the other hand is doing. So is it the country, Hakeem?
Yeah, and don't forget too.
Who's that, Mike? Go ahead.
I was going to say, don't forget too that he's been doing it for decades. He's been using the media for his own purposes for decades, and he acts like he hates the media, but he actually loves the media for what it does for him. It's all a ruse. And when he was younger, he used to call different media types, newspapers and television stations and stuff, and pretend like he would change his voice to pretend like he was his own publicist, and he would set stories in motion about himself on his own terms, playing the media. And only years later did the people come forward and say, "Oh my God, it was totally Trump. He was calling and pretending like he was somebody else to talk about himself." So it's a ridiculous ploy that apparently he's been doing a long time.
That's why it's fascinating when people complain about, why do you guys talk about Trump? Everything is Trump, Trump, Trump. That's what Trump wants. He wants the headline. So, that's why I get confused when people complain about it. It's TDS. No, it's not. The man wants to be fucking relevant. He wants to be talked about.
Of course he does. Of course he does. And the thing of it is, he's a master at the craft. And I agree with Nye. It's a skill that every politician uses. He's just a lot more overt about that skill. But a perfect case in point, Epstein. He took one tactic with the media and the pressure towards his base. And when that didn't work, he took another tactic. And when that didn't work, he took another one. And are any of us having rooms about Epstein talking about the fact that there's been adjusts and corrects course as applicable until he hits the thing that works and gets people talking about the things that he wants them to be talking about?
He also has no guide rails, and he's willing to go anywhere. He's willing to tell a lie over and over again until it's perceived as truth. He's willing to demonize and attack other people that he's friends with, on a whim. He's willing to say things on the top of his head at a moment's notice without any kind of censorship, internal censorship. So, all of those traits, his lack of morality in general actually helps him get away with so much more. There's a lot of things I'm sure that other presidents have thought in the Oval Office about, man, I'd like that person's ass out of the room. And it goes through their head, but they censor it. They keep themselves under wrap. And Trump doesn't do that. He just says what's on the top of his mind openly, and without guidelines, without his own moral guidelines, dude, sky's the limit for what he can do to get what he wants,
And the people just stupid for letting him get away with it. Everything you describe is a horrible person. But somehow he's the president and is loved by a good portion of Americans. It's fucked up.
It's true, Kima, but you know what? I started noticing years ago that I was the only one that gave a fuck about character in a president. I started hearing, it doesn't matter, they're all a bunch of assholes. If you think that, then you're never going to look for somebody that is a decent human being. There are still decent human beings, and there are actually a few decent human beings in politics. Most of them haven't been in for 30 years. But the idea that we're just throwing that in the air and saying it doesn't fucking matter anymore, character's out the window, we don't give a fuck, we'll put a scumbag in there as long as he gives us what we want. That's our own problem. That's why we're making, we only have ourselves to blame. We get what we deserve. And right now we deserve somebody who's literally a stereotypical, disgusting American who eats McDonald's every single day and badmouths everybody, around him. What we deserve, because that's what we are.
That motherfucker, Mike. I do not deserve Donald Trump.
Here's the thing.
I get what you said there.
Here's the thing, Mike. I'm one of those people that thinks character should matter. I'm one of those people that it took a long time for me to get on the Trump platform because of the fact that I'd already made personal decisions about his character and who he was as a person. And I don't particularly care for his character, but by the same token, when I don't particularly, like during the primaries before Trump got the ticket, I earnestly looked. I wanted to find somebody. I wanted to jump on the DeSantis bandwagon. Like, I earnestly looked for a politician that I thought would accomplish what I wanted and that I felt like, at least to some degree, was a man of character. They just weren't there to be had. They just were not. I just could not get on board with anybody else. And so when he won the primary, I still have to make a choice. And my choice is between two people with no character. I still have to make a choice. If I want to vote and if I want to feel like the things that are important to me are going to be represented. So
yeah,
in that case, I have to throw my support behind somebody,
I mean, arguably, a lot of the Republicans who became never Trumpers in the beginning were the people who had some more of the character. They were deeply bothered by that in him. I mean, I think of most recent memory, John McCain is probably somebody that had a lot of character, and he lost the presidency. So I think that the primaries kind of eliminates the need for character, because it promotes people that are on the extreme ends of things, and people who are on the extreme ends of things are not the ones necessarily with the most character. So we end up with 70% of America wanting someone who's moderate, but the extremist wins every time on either side because of the primaries, and because too many of us that that do care about character are so frustrated by the whole process, we just step out of the entire process itself and we don't even vote.
And that's a great point, Mike, that the primary eliminates the need for character. Because, like, basically, whoever goes the lowest is likely to win. So, like, who gives a fuck about character? And the primary definitely sets that field up like that. That's a good observation. That's crazy, though.
Yeah, and the primary also eliminates the opportunity for a third party to ever get any traction. So, if you look between the primary and the college, what do you call it? With the states, the way that they vote. The electoral college. If you look between the primaries and the electoral college, those are just methods of rigging the system to take away a lot of the control that we would have as citizens naturally. The control that we're told we have, right? Like, it's up to you, just vote. You can make changes. Well, those two things put huge dampers on that power that we're given. And the electoral college was put that on there in place for that very reason, to take away some of that power. But I don't think the primaries were necessarily put in for that reason, but I feel like that's what they've resulted in. Necessarily put in. Talking, or if I think it's just my mic's just dead.
No, you're good. I think it just got quiet.
Yeah, hey, Senator B, I was a never Trumper for, I've never voted for him, but I wouldn't necessarily call myself a never Trumper now. It took me 8 years to come around, and really what I had to witness was the demise of the previous Republican Party. I mean, I agree that neo-con conservatism, the idea of spreading democracy around the world via, all means necessary, it didn't work. In retrospect, that wasn't a good idea, and it's something I did believe in the 90s. But I would like a Republican Party with the rest of its values, minus that, a lesson learned. And that doesn't exist. We had to go all out and just throw all of our values out the window, from fiscal responsibility to, everything else, and just disrupt the entire system in order to show that, how bad the Democrats are. And in doing that, we got a guy that is a disruptor who made the entire process about himself. And thankfully he'll be heading out. I think he was in some ways necessary for our country to put into question a lot of the status quo that we were getting too comfortable with. I love his focus on fighting, men and women's sports, things like that. That's the kind of shit that was getting way too out of control. And I'm glad that there's somebody there for that. Immigration, I'm glad there's somebody that talks a lot more about it and at least says he wants to do something about it, points a finger at it. I mean, there's a lot of things he's done that, that I think were needed. I would have liked them done by a different human being, but it is what we got, and he's doing something that I don't necessarily completely disagree with all aspects of.
Right.
I feel like disruptor in chief is what he is. He's disrupting the status quo for executive actions. He's disrupting the system of presidential or executive power versus judicial power. He's disrupting the balance of the superior court. I mean, he's disrupting a shit ton of stuff, and it's causing us to decide who we do want to be going forward. And I think it was about fucking time, because it was going downhill.
I agree, and that's primarily why I still throw my support behind him. I don't think that everything he does is right. He is not like, I don't idolize him, but I feel like I was given a choice, and I made the best choice between the two candidates that I had. And so at this point, he is our president, and I also feel like it, lump it, or rump it, or dump it. If he's the president, we have to kind of, we just have to support our leadership. I mean, he's in that role right now, so we have to get behind him and support it.
I mean, realistically, I'm not a liberal, and that I don't want to blow up the entire country and start from scratch like a lot of them wish they could. So because I don't want that, I have to ultimately wish for the best of the country, and I have to support whoever's in charge and hope that they're going to be successful, not make us weaker than we already are, And I don't know if he's that guy or not, but when he's in the position, I have to shut my mouth. It's kind of like when I was in the Marine Corps, people used to say, I support. During the Iraqi war, they would say, I support the troops, but I don't support the war. And I would say, well, the troops are under fire right now in war. And you saying you don't support the war, and even worse yet, speaking out against the war, like obnoxiously so in public, is only weakening their ability to hopefully win the war. And whether or not you believe in the war, I don't think you want them to lose the war. And if you do, then that's unpatriotic. And so I would tell people, like, they'd say, I support the troops, I support the war. And I'd say, well, how do you do that? You're using your mouth to talk shit about their jobs, the job they're doing right now. You're not sending them care packages. You're not sending them money. Like, what the fuck do you mean you support the troops? Is that just like you just think you do because you say it, and saying it makes it real when you have absolutely no action behind it? The least you can do is shut your fucking mouth when they're under fire and say, well, you know what? Whether or not I agree with the war itself, I hope that they win. And that's what they needed. That's what they wanted. And they don't fucking need people talking shit about their jobs. I mean, firefighters, I support firefighters, but I don't support fighting fires. What the fuck? I mean, when they're in the building fighting the fire, shut your fucking mouth till they get back out of the danger zone,
Right. Well said.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think as an American, you got an obligation to speak up against a war you don't agree with, and you can support the soldiers in the sense where you don't want them to die. You hope the war ends soon, and you hope they get home safely. That's the way you support them, but you don't have to support a war. That's crazy. You gotta support a state that's war.
So what method do you use? To support them without supporting the war? So I agree that they shouldn't necessarily be the same thing, but you're not supporting the troops if you're out talking shit about what they're doing when they're being killed. That's not supporting the troops. Saying I want the troops to come home safely is just like flapping your gums. It doesn't have any relevance.
No, I think supporting the troops is getting out, make very serious saying to the government, and hopefully they will listen and end the fucking war. Bring the troops home in the war that you have no business doing. That is supporting the troops. Trying to get the war ended.
As one of the troops, I can tell you that didn't feel like any kind of support. But they're over there doing it. They're breaking down doors. If you want to influence their.
Some of the troops appreciated people at home asking for the war to end. So,
if you want to act to influence their commander-in-chief, who's giving the directive for them to be under fire in ways that actually are tangible, i.e. running for, a position of, power in your local government, whatever it takes to influence the decision makers, you could argue that's supportive in an indirect manner. But just saying, bring them home and keep them sitting, and I hope they come home safe and end this shit now is not supportive of them when they're over there at the time. It's just not. I mean, they don't feel like it. So if they don't feel like it, who are you to say that it is?
I think it's right to dispute the government or something over there. On the bullshit there. I think that's the number one issue to be with. They're doing their job nonetheless. They should have an issue with that, and the people that's at home listening to this, I don't see how they would have a problem with that.
I understand that, but when you sworn to